Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. If you're new here, I'm Marilyn, and if you're returning, thanks so much for coming back. In a recent video, I showed you how I stitched out this wifey shirt. In today's video, I'm going to show you not only how I designed this, but also how I stitched this out. I just wanted to add the year my husband and I were married to the sleeve. This project doesn't take a ton of supplies. We're going to talk about the supplies during the video. I'll also put a list in the video description below. Now that you know what the project is, let's go ahead and do the design. This is going to take just a few minutes. This is very easy to do. I'm going to make my design today in Embroider software. Now I have Embroider Stitch Artist 2 as well as Essentials. But I believe that what I'm going to do today takes Stitch Artist Level 1. The first thing I need to do though is change the hoop size. So I'm going to go up here to Embroider, click on Settings, and I want the Mighty Hoop 3x9. Now even though it's 3 inches by 9 inches, that's not the actual stitching area. So I have the actual stitching area written out there. Let me show you where you can find that. First though, I'll click on it and I'll say OK. Alright, I'm going to minimize this. I'm on the HoopMaster website. I found my hoop, and you can see right here the inside dimensions of the hoop, as well as it says the sewing area typically is. So 8.07 inches by 2.2 inches, or 205 millimeters by 56 millimeters. And you can see if I go back to the settings, that's what I have, 205 by 56. So this is going to be a really skinny design. It's just going to go on the sleeve of the shirt. It doesn't need to be very large. So I want it to say EST for established in 1993 because that's the year my husband and I were married. To add my text, I'm going to go right up here to this lettering tool. I'll click on it. And right now it is on this Bauhaus. I don't want that. I want your basic block font, so I'm going to click on it and go down one. Now I can highlight the ABC, and in all caps I'm going to type EST, and then I'll hit return. Notice this is only 1 3/8 inches wide, and I have over 2 inches, so let's go ahead and make this larger. Now when I made it too large, notice that this turned yellow. That's just letting me know that's not going to work for the hoop. So we'll drag this down until it'll fit. And I'm just going to go with 2 inches. Now I want this to have a little something added to it. I don't want it to just be plain like that. So there's some things I could do. I could slant it to the right, to the left. I could change the spacing. This is if you have words, change your word spacing. But what I want to do is curve the top. So notice where it says top, there's various options, but we're going to stay with curve. If I drag it to the right, the top curves up. If I drag it to the left, the top curves down. I want to go ahead and make it just about like that. And by dragging this slider, I can also curve the bottom. And you can just play around with it till you get the shape you like. Now, I do think this looks pretty cute, but I'm going to have straight numbers below it, and so I think the bottom should be flat. So let's move that back. Okay. Now we're going to go up and add the numbers 1993. So I'll go back up to my lettering tool, click on it, and this time I am going to use this Bauhaus, I think. I don't know, some of these are cute too. Let's try one of these down here. Let's see, let's try this Catherine. So I'm going to click on it, and it changed the ABC, but now I'm going to go ahead and highlight over that and type 1993. Now notice nothing happened, and what I have discovered is some fonts don't come with numbers. This is probably one of them. So let's pick a different font. Let's go back up to that Bauhaus, click on it, and notice it changed. So that's what I think happens is if you pick a font that doesn't have numbers, it's just not going to do anything. And when that first started happening to me, it was very frustrating. I didn't know why it wouldn't do anything, but I think that has to be it. Notice also that it's using the settings that I last used. I don't want this one to be curved, so I have to drag it back down here to the center. All right, let's go ahead and select both these items and then go up to Utility, Align and Distribute, and then let's center them over each other. I'm going to click right here and I'll say Apply. Then I can just close that out. Last thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and select both of them again, and I'll go up to Utility and I'll say Center and Hoop. I see one more thing. I want to go ahead and move this up just a little bit. And I do always like to save my designs in the middle of the hoop, so I'm going to go right back up to Utility and I'll say Center and Hoop again. I'm going to go right up here to File, Save As. I'm going to save it as a stitch file and a working file. That way if I want to make some changes to it, I can go back to the working file. Now my machine uses DST, so it's defaulted to that. And I'm just going to call it EMB, which I always like to call my embroidery files EMB so they're all together, and EST. That'll work for me. I'll hit Save. Now I'll get the file transferred to the machine and we'll get the shirt hooped up. Now here's my project all hooped up. I have one layer of a poly mesh stabilizer that I attached to the inside of the sleeve all the way up to here using this temporary basting adhesive spray. In addition to that, I put another piece of stabilizer behind it. So my second piece is just tearaway. If you're not comfortable putting tearaway on a shirt, then go ahead and put another piece of cutaway if you want to use a second piece. I have found that with my machine, I get better results when I use 2 pieces of stabilizer. But again, my second piece is tearaway. And if you don't want to use tearaway on it, because they do say if you tear it, don't wear it. But remember, I'm using the poly no-show mesh for my permanent stabilizer. Once I get to the machine, I'll go ahead and put this on the machine. Then I'm going to add a little bit of water-soluble stabilizer on top. And it's actually called water-soluble topping. That's going to keep the stitches up on top of the fabric, and it gives me a better result, even on t-shirts. You really need to use this on things like terry cloth, towels, fleece, things like that. But I have grown to really like using it on t-shirts and sweatshirts. Now that we're at the machine, let's go find that design. So I'm going to click on Design Management. Then I'm going to click on the picture that looks like a little thumb drive. And here's everything that's on that thumb drive. Now that looks like it right there. I don't know why it's black and white, but that has to be it. So let's click on it. It turns red, and then add it by clicking on that green icon. Now it's just assigning a number to it, so I'll hit Enter. I can go back to the designs on my machine, and there it is. Now it's all white. So it is still outlined with red, so I'm going to click on this green icon. That's going to add it so that it's the current job on my machine. I'm going to feed my shirt on from the bottom of the sleeve, so I need this to be upside down. To do that, I'm just going to click on this F until it's the way I want it, or the direction that I want it. Now that it is, I'll click the check mark. Now let's go find our frame. We're going to click on the frame icon, select frame. Let's go ahead and page down, and here it is right here. So I'll click on it and then click on that check mark again. It's just wanting me to confirm that I want to switch it, so I'll hit the green check mark. That looks extremely close to the side, so we will definitely frame this before we stitch it out. And where I'm embroidering my sleeve is back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this, and that will actually make the frame come forward. Now I don't have that hoop or frame on there yet, but that's what's going to happen. Let me get it on there, and then I'll adjust the hoop using these arrows. I've noticed in my videos when I leave that light on, you can't really see, so let me go ahead and turn that off. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move my hoop forward. On the screen, that looks pretty good. Let me go ahead and frame it out. Okay, let me go ahead and go back, make sure I have all white for my colors. I do. That is needle number 2, which is right here. So I'm going to go ahead and frame it out again. Okay, it looks safe, and I don't have any red warnings on my screen. Let me get that water-soluble topper on and we'll get this started. To do that, I just have to change my embroidery status from the preparation status to the embroidery status, and I have to confirm I'm ready. Now I have my chopstick handy, and then I am really nervous about how close that is to the edge. That's probably the closest I've ever embroidered. So I'm going to be ready to hit that emergency off button if I need to. Now I stopped that real quick so I could smooth out this water-soluble topper. I want to try to get that just a little bit flatter. Look at how cute that is! Now I realized that when I thought it was so close to the edge of the frame, it was just close to the edge of the stitching area, not the actual frame. I need to learn to trust the process, but not so much that I get careless. Cute, right? I think that turned out really cute. Let's go ahead and tear this topper off. Now I like to take out as much as I can, but you can see there's little bits and pieces in there, so I can take a damp rag and I can get those off. That's what it means by water soluble. All right, let's take this out of the hoop. Now we're just going to turn this right side out and remove that excess stabilizer. So remember, first I have tearaway, and I can probably use this maybe in a small hoop, so I'll keep that. The piece I used today was a scrap piece. So I would remove all of the tearaway. So even these inside pieces, I just want to get all those out of there. I'm not going to take the time to do it on the video, but that's my process. Then the other thing, because that basting spray was temporary, I can pull this away from the shirt and I can cut away the excess of it as well. Now somebody in a comment had a great question. They asked me, did this leave any residue on my shirt? Because it did on theirs. And I've never felt a residue from it. So I don't know, maybe she was using a different brand. Maybe she was using more than I use. But let me know, have you ever had a sticky residue left? And if so, what did you change so you wouldn't have that in the future? Now I could also put some Tender Touch or something like that on here if I wanted to. But for now, I'm just excited to turn this right side out and see what it looks like. Now here's the first design that I did on the shirt, and I did this in a video, so I'll put a link to that video in the video description of this video, and then here's what I did today. Now I did take this into the bathroom and I dampened a piece of cloth, and I got the parts that hadn't come off of there. So if you see a little discoloration there, that's where it's just still damp. That's going to turn out just fine. But look how good this looks. I think that is really cute to add that to the sleeve. So thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the video, maybe learned something new. If you're interested in Mighty Hoops or the HoopMaster system, I have a link below. If you use that, you get free shipping. Also, if you're interested in looking into the Smartstitch machines, I'll put my links for those below as well. Thanks again for joining me. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And until my next video, bye-bye.